friend I've known since lower school, I think, mentioned cannabis, and cannabis was about to go legal in the U.S. So I started coming up with a business strategy with these three guys in Portland. I was still in Bangkok, but we would do, videos, and we had conference calls with stole-reeved corporate lawyers, and I was doing it all from Bangkok. But it got to the point where I felt comfortable moving back to Portland on my own, that I would have enough of a start, enough of a direction, that if I moved back home, I could try and make it real. It wasn't anything yet.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't have an investor or anything yet.
No, we had a business plan, but it wasn't much. And so I flew back in, I think September 2016, I flew directly to LA for a big cannabis trade show. And I met up with the three guys from Portland. I think we crashed. At that time, my brother was in LA. So we crashed at his place. And for the next 3 years, I worked on that company while B stayed in Bangkok.
So what happened with that, and how do you feel about it now? What's the learning we can take from doing that startup business, which I think is exciting for a lot of people. And then
it is exciting.
You feel some great success getting that started up, and then it changes over time.
In the case of Rare Air, the Oregon cannabis industry between 2016 and 2019 had so many convulsions and was roiled so many times by different events. By 2019, the big story was the overwhelming number of producer licenses, of growers, resulting in a massive glut. And so the price of cannabis was almost nothing. And the OLCC temporarily suspended issuing new grower licenses. And so we were in line to receive ours. And we were also in line to start construction on a $2 million facility in Boring, Oregon. And so you can't build a facility if you don't have a license to do anything.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, I realized that in the end, our business model was underfunded. And if I were to do it over again, rather than just decide, okay, I don't need $3 million, I need $10 million to do this, and our model was to be vertically integrated, I think I would have, on a second chance, I would have focused on building a brand, Rare Air, so cannabis based on heirloom and landrace seeds and strains, original strains, pre-hybrid and pre all the craziness. Built just an incredible story about that, and outsourced the growing, the distribution, the processing, all of it.
Not done the vertical integration.
Yeah, just built a brand. And no one's done that yet about heirloom landrace. I still think it's a good opportunity. But it was such an adventure. I mean, two good stories. One is I wanted to build a brand for Rare Air, and I came from the advertising industry. So I knew that you could find young creatives who sometimes would work for free to be part of something cool. So I cold called Wyden Kennedy, and the young lady there is like, well, she said, I do know one guy who's interested in cannabis or whatever. I'll share your idea with him. And so this creative director got in touch with me, and I said, I'm creating this cool brand, Landrace Heirloom. We've got a piece of land. And he's like, I'd love to. So we had a creative director from Wyden Kennedy, one of the top agencies in the creative agency in the world, work for us for free.
Wow. And
then another exciting story, which was bad. Our grower, who was a business partner, a minority business partner in terms of his ownership. So the idea of the heirloom and landrace came from him originally. And he had a bunch of seeds that he had collected over the years of these heirloom and landrace.
What is that second part? Landrace?
Landrace. It just means indigenous. So if you go to the island of Koh Chang in Thailand, herb grows indigenously, natively, and it's Cochang seeds. If you go to the Rio Negro in Colombia River, there's Rio Negro landrace herb.
Okay.
And then heirloom, so.
I guess you could define it though for us.
Just heirloom is kind of original strains before they've been hybridized.
Yeah, because I feel like heirloom tomatoes were one of the first things that came out.
Yes,
it's like
right.
Like organic was originally, it didn't really mean anything. Then the USDA came in and said, "Oh, organic means this specific kind of thing," and some people get upset about that. I feel like heirloom might be another one of those terms that's not controlled as what it really means.
I think that the theory is that heirloom have their own characteristics that you don't really get in mass marketed produce anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So whether or not that's true, but I think that's
marketing
the theory.
term at least. Yes.
I think that's the theory.
All right. So heirloom.
Anyways,
yeah.
So we had hired this investment coach or a fundraising coach to help us, and so we were meeting at a coffee shop to build a pitch for investors. And I remember a moment where the coach were telling about our heirloom landrace idea, and the coach turned to Mike and was like, "You are really the key of this story, of this brand. It is you."
The grower.
Yeah. And I turned and I was like, oh man, he's going to really think that he's the key
to
the company. And sure enough,
power change there.
Sure enough, he came back and he told me that he was going to need a lot bigger ownership of the company. And the truth is, you can get these seeds anywhere, and you can find
people.
There's
already people growing.
Everyone's an incredible grower.
Yeah.
Right. But it was just as soon as this dumbass coach said that, I wanted to punch the coach.
Yeah.
I was like, and I knew this journalist guy. I was like, I mean, this guy doesn't know shit. So we had weeks of intense negotiations. Another aspect of the cannabis industry was nobody really has a business background, but they're all experts, right? It was the green rush.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the grower was just asking for all this crazy stuff, and I gave more a little bit, but, it just wasn't realistic. And so that was just sort of another nail in the coffin at the time. I gave him back his investment. He gave me all the seed bank. And that was that.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you feel about it all now? How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 for success, in your life? Was this the fact that you went off and did this big project?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, it ended in failure in the sense that the company didn't get started. However, it allowed me to come to Portland after being gone for 25 years and hit the ground running, getting to know lawyers, getting to know consultants, getting to know investors, going to trade shows. And for 3 years, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
Never a moment of, sitting at home in a rainy day, wondering, feeling the anxiety of, did I make the right decision, or what am I going to do next? So in that sense, it was perfect. It led to where I am today.
Yeah.
Like a good spot.